Hi guys, Mike in the Woods here, and this time it's time for an updated look at everything that I have in my pocket survival tin, which is a staple of my everyday carry. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button, leave any questions you have down below. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so like I said, this is part of my everyday carry. If you want to see everything that's in my EDC bag, I'll actually link to it on the screen right there. So let's take a look at everything that's in my survival tin. So first of all, in the lid, you'll see that I've got 4 matches, 2 needles, and a strike surface taped to the inside. This is just one of my fire making options, and the needles are in there to pair with the fishing line that's also in there for repairs, emergency stitches, or anything else I might happen to need it for. Inside of the main tin itself, I've got a wire saw made by Rothco, which I've actually used this thing a few times, and it's not as terrible as most people say they are. I mean, it's not as good as a folding saw or a full-on Briel 21 or something, but it's in a pinch, it works. Also in here, I've got some fishing line. I don't know exactly how much, but I know I spooled a considerable amount on here, and this is 25-pound test line, so it's some pretty beefy fishing line, so I could use it as cordage if I need to, but it's primarily in there for fishing purposes. Also in here, I've got 2 disinfectant wipes. Unfortunately, these are not alcohol-based, so I can't use them as fire starters. These are just in here for first aid purposes, disinfecting any cuts or any injuries I happen to get. Also in here, this is my primary fire starting method. I've got just a small lighter. It's not the smallest that I could probably find, but it's small enough to fit in the tin, and it works. Also in here, I've got some duct tape. I've rolled it over itself a few times. I could probably get more duct tape in here, but for now this is a pretty good amount to have for my purposes. In here, I've also got some aqua tabs for water purification purposes. These are actually expired. I should probably replace these, but as far as I know, even though they're expired, they should still work perfectly fine. I've also got a button compass, and this is a tiny little one. It's small. It's off this cheap paracord bracelet that I got. I wouldn't trust it as my only navigation tool. I actually also have a compass attached to a whistle on my keychain, which I should always have on me, so it'll serve as a point of comparison to compare the two and kind of split the difference. I've also got just the tiniest adorable little ferro rod. I mean, if you look at this thing compared to the size of my finger, I'll do this, like it's tiny. The handle's bigger than the actual striking surface. It does throw off some sparks, especially if I use the saw of my multi-tool, which I also have on me at all times. So this is definitely not my primary method of starting fire, but I've got 3 methods in here to start fire, this being one of them, so it's redundancy for redundancy's sake. Also in here, I did have a 3D printed whistle in here. However, I found one that's even smaller, so I replaced it with this little guy here. It's really tiny. As much as I want the 3D printed whistle to try out, this one is smaller, does the same job, and takes up much less space in the tin. And in survival tins, space is a premium. So I'll try and find and see if I can find or create a model of a whistle that's even smaller or more space efficient. But for now, I've got this tiny little guy in there. However, I do happen to have some 3D printed things in my little survival tin, and that is the fishing survival snap card that I redesigned. And if you're curious about my design process, I'll actually link that on the screen right here, so be sure to check that out. But essentially, it's just got 3 different kinds of lures and 4 fishing hooks. It's 2 millimeters thick, and I mean, it's not the most reliable thing in the world, but I'm going to take a few of these out on an upcoming trip and put them to the test and see if I can actually catch some fish with them, both with the lures and the hooks, a combination of just the 3D printed parts and some actual fishing gear. So it should be interesting to see what happens with that. So make sure you subscribe so you happen to see that video when it comes out. Also in here, I've got just the tiniest little flashlight. which you just screw. There we go. So it's not the brightest. I don't even think it's 100 lumens, but if I'm stuck at night and I have no other light source, it's better than nothing, and it takes up little space and weight in the survival tin. To me, it was worth the inclusion. Also in here, I have a little signaling mirror if it wants to play nice and actually get out of the survival tin. Come on, there you go. So, there we go, reflected off the camera. So, in the last version, someone suggested having a larger signal mirror in here. I don't necessarily disagree, but for now, this suffices. It does a perfectly good job of being able to bounce a flash of light around, signal, I don't know what you want to call it. Also in here, I've got a Ziploc bag. This one's looking a little scuffed up. I might want to replace it because I'm not sure if it's still watertight. But the idea with this is I can collect water in it and put in half an aqua tab, because I think this holds about 1 liter worth of water for water collection and drinking purposes. Also, I've got some aluminum foil that I've kind of folded over itself a few times. This serves a few purposes. I can use this to make a bowl or a pan or pretty much anything that needs to be fire resistant, because you can actually cook with this right in the fire. If you actually want to see a list of 10 different uses that you can use aluminum foil for survival, I'll actually link a video to that right there that I've done. So that's nice. Also in here, since I do live in the city, having just an extra $20 bill is useful in case I happen to really need some cash. As I don't actually carry physical cash around with me a lot, I usually only carry debit and credit card. Cash seems to be dying in use here in Canada. It's primarily paying through plastic up this way, at least here in the Greater Toronto area. Might be different like out west or something, I don't know. But yeah, if I happen to come across like the 1 or 2 places left in the city that don't take debit or credit, I do have some cash that I can use to pay for whatever. And the last few things are in the bottom of my tin. As you can see there, I've got 2 actual fish hooks taped to the bottom, just in case the 3D printed ones don't pan out. And also in the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a X-Acto blade taped in the corner as well. Now, like I mentioned, I do carry my multi-tool with me everywhere I go, but in the event I lose that and I need a sharp surface for cutting, I do have that X-Acto blade segment in there for cutting purposes. So probably still lots of room for improvement. If you have any suggestions or ideas for things that I can do to improve the kit, please let me know. I would love to have it as efficient as possible. And if you want to see the previous version of this and just kind of compare all the changes that I made since the last one, I'll link the old version of this that I did a teardown on right here on the screen as well. And, well, that's it. That's everything that's in my survival tin. If you're new to the channel, I study the intersection of fun, futuristic technology with traditional outdoors experiences, so consider subscribing so you don't miss out on cool videos in the future. If you found this interesting, hit the like button so that YouTube promotes it to other people. And like I said, if you have any suggestions or any comments or anything else you want to say, please leave them down below. And if you want to help out the channel, please check out the links in the description down below. Such as the link to my online 3D print and paracord shop, where I have a variety of outdoors and EDC themed gear. Use promo code SHAMELESSPLUG to get 20% off your order. That's it for me, guys. I'll catch you next video.